I didn't like the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Judging by news articles and professional reviews, it would appear that a great many of you also didn't like this movie. Unfortunately for these guys, my opinion holds more value than theirs because I'm the exact demographic that the actors of this movie think is their worst critic. And I'm of the belief that if someone wants a battle, you give them a war. So here goes nothing. After the disastrous attempt to make a Mario movie failed back in 1993, 30 years later, Nintendo managed to sweet-talk Universal Studios and Illumination into making another Mario flick. Now, just as a preliminary warning, these guys have the worst track record ever in terms of putting out good movies. Yeah, the returns are really high, but that's because they're so cheaply made, especially in comparison to a Pixar or a DreamWorks flick. Ironically, this made them the best candidate among other animation houses for this movie. I mean, they've never had a financial flop, but the artistic integrity of any movie made by them is basically non-existent. The first Despicable Me is the only Illumination movie that can actually be considered a good film. The second one is decent too, but by then the writing was already on the wall. Film after film of boring, safe tripe that rakes in the dough while being as safe and cutesy as possible. No substance whatsoever. Again, this made them the perfect candidate for making a Mario movie. And no, not just because the Nintendo executives really liked Illumination bigwig Chris Meledandri. It was because they could stretch something bone dry with barely any premise or drive at all into a 90-minute feature and just put it in theaters at the drop of a hat. Before I get into the details of why I think this movie sucks so much, I plan on separating this video into the basics of why the methodology of this movie's production ever doomed it from being good. Those reasons are the intellectual property not lending itself very well into a satisfying narrative, ludicrous casting decisions, surface-level understanding of the source material, feminism, the fact that the Lego Movie and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse ruined the future of computer-animated motion pictures, and the video game movie curse. Alright, let's get into it. The plot sucks. Okay, so to Illumination's credit, there's not many avenues they could have gone down to make a story involving the Mario Brothers all that great. Ever since 1985, the plot of these games has always been just two short, middle-aged, balding Italian-American plumbers from Brooklyn wind up in some acid trip world where mushroom people are ruled by the last bastion of the Aryan race and an evil satanic turtle is out to kidnap her. Honestly, not much to work with. It's the main reason why the Hoskins Leguizamo Mario movie came out as deformed as it did. It just makes no coherent sense. In this movie, the Mario Brothers already start out in their clothes from the games, they live in New York, and they have a stereotypical Italian-American family to boot. This film tries to bring these whimsical characters down to our level immediately by pitting their familial tensions against each other. Why exactly am I supposed to care that Mario and Luigi really wanted to become plumbers after being in the Wrecking Crew for so long? And why Wrecking Crew? That game came out ages ago. If anything, Donkey Kong 1981 is where this movie should have derived this background information from. But whatever, at least we get the impression that these characters are closely related as family. But once the brothers are separated, the crux of that message sort of falls apart. In the A plot, Mario meets Toad and his blonde bombshell heartthrob, Princess Peach, while in the B plot, Luigi is stuck in the Dark World with Bowser and his minions. Obviously, these concepts don't mix at all, because we spend way too much time on Luigi pissing himself over a big scary turtle man, and Mario twiddling his thumbs with Peach because he has no agency of his own. And even more of that time is wasted with Mario and Peach traveling together to meet Donkey Kong, who, apart from the fight scene he has with Mario, has next to no bearing on the plot whatsoever. He's basically just here for fan service and so that the DK rap can be played, which, by the way, they never credited Grant Kirkhope for, which sucks the big one for sure. After that, there's a lot of racing, which, again, wastes time because this should be a Mario movie, not a Mario Kart movie. And just a hunch here, I think they just wanted to put Peach in a skin-tight suit just because nothing else was going on. And don't give me that crap about how, she wears that suit in the games, man. She wouldn't be wearing the tracksuit in the first place, even if they were constantly trying to deflect from the fact that the pacing of this movie is terrible. Going back to the whole family dynamic thing, Donkey Kong and Mario share a moment where they bond over the fact that their fathers are a bit harsh on them, which you'd think would be a good bit, but it's mostly just here because it's a generic movie and it's in dire need of a second act low point. The climax of this film, if you can even call it that, involves a big fight scene with Bowser and the Mario Brothers finally reuniting. This was, of course, after a failed wedding where Bowser tried to marry Peach. In the most obvious ending for a kid's movie in the 21st century, Mario and Luigi defeat Bowser. The Mushroom Kingdom is saved, and Mario's relatives are proud of him and Luigi. And soon they begin their permanent residency in the Mushroom Kingdom. Now there is so much wrong with this plot, like the fact that it's half-baked, or the fact that the pacing sucks, or the fact that what's happening on the screen isn't even relatively pertinent to anything really, not even within the context of this movie. The cast sucks. Okay, so here's the proverbial elephant in the room that everyone and their mom has an opinion on. I don't have much new to add, but I am going to continue the popular opinion that this movie was horribly cast. And no, Chris Pratt isn't the only problem in this movie, although believe you me, he wasn't the only one that was horribly cast. As the good Max Gilardi once proudly said, cartoon characters are their voices. If you knew me around the time the two Sonic movies came out, you probably remember how anal I was about the fact that Roger Craig Smith was not the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. Instead, they gave the character to some goofball named Ben Schwartz, who has done very little of note beforehand. Now, while I'm still salty about Roger not playing Sonic in those movies, I'm equally salty about the fact that neither Mario nor Luigi were voiced by Charles Martinet. And no, having him voice Mario's dad doesn't count. So what's with the rage then? Well, it's like I said, cartoon characters are their voices. If Sonic doesn't sound like the guy in the Pizza Hut commercial, to me, he's not really Sonic.
Introducing Pizza Hut's new Ultimate Stuffed Crust Pizza.
If Mario doesn't sound like he's dying for a plate of spaghetti and meatballs, to me, he's not really Mario. So yeah, even though Charlie Day often gets cast as the manic and erratic character in movies like these, I can't even give it to him for the same reason. Moreover, the same problem extends to the other characters. Keegan-Michael Key does a great job sounding grating in this movie, but not in the same way that Toad does in the games. Which is bad, by the way, because it doesn't really sell me on all the Toads basically being the same character. I wasn't impressed with Anya Taylor-Joy at all in this movie because she doesn't bring any uniqueness to the role. She was fine in The Queen's Gambit, she was great in The Menu, and she's not that great here, and far from it. And that mostly falls upon the material, to be honest. You could have gotten any dumb blonde to play this character and nothing would change. In the field of voice acting, that is unfathomably pitiable and equally infuriating. Seth Rogen sounds like Seth Rogen. The best animated films he's done were Sausage Party and Monsters vs. Aliens. This is him at his weakest. Donkey Kong sounds more like he wants to smoke weed out of the lungbuster 30 inches of doom than tango with King K. Rool or eat 10 tons of bananas. Jack Black steals this terribly boring show, but that's because he's the only one putting a small modicum amount of effort into this thing. He likes the character, and for the most part, unless he was singing like a jackass or something, he sounded mostly passable, to be honest. All in all, the cast was lame, and unfortunately, very noticeable, which makes the poor performances and casting choices stick out like a sore thumb. They didn't know what they were doing. Now, some counter-arguments to this point might be the inclusion of several Mario power-ups like Fire Flowers, Ice Flowers, Mushrooms, Stars, Mini Mushrooms, Super Bells, Raccoon Leaves, etc. But what I'm talking about are fundamental understandings of these characters. Luigi's a scaredy cat, that's for sure, but he's not a slab of petrified wood once he's in a sticky wicket. Mario too. He's not haphazardly being flung into mushrooms. He takes the charge. He's athletic, and everything comes naturally to him because of his cheery demeanor. So no, I don't like the angle of them playing the childlike innocence card when this character is inherently much cooler than they think he is. Toad is nowhere near the straight man bootlicker that he's depicted to be in this movie. Yeah, the Toads take orders from Peach, but they're not exaggerated to that aforementioned bootlicking degree. Or should I say high heel licking to be more relative. Alright, since I speed ran getting around to it. Feminism. Nobody likes feminism. I don't like it, you don't like it, even the people forced to get into these movies don't like it. It just puts butts in seats because the justified seething causes controversy. That being said, I do not like the way that Peach is depicted. Am I saying that Peach shouldn't be able-bodied and capable of defending herself? Hell no. That's how she's depicted in the games, after all. She can put up a good fight if need be. I don't even have a problem if this film doesn't start with her getting kidnapped. The real problem is that they had to overcompensate and make her some strong, independent woman that can do an entire obstacle course, roundhouse kick a wooden dummy, in a dress, and heels. This is also why Mario is depicted as a bumbling clown instead of a natural up-and-coming badass. Bowser being a simp is pretty par for the course and actually canon, so I'm not upset about that at all. Even the whole wedding thing is accurate as far as the games are concerned. Again, my problem is that they had to subtly overcompensate the capabilities of Peach in order to subliminally push a shitty agenda that most moviegoers are sick and tired of. Fuck the Lego Movie, and fuck Into the Spider-Verse. Look, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy here. These two movies have caused animated films to take a straight fucking nosedive off a cliff into the Grand Canyon. Back then, animated movies were either inspired by Toy Story or Shrek, and then Despicable Me happened, which caused the transitionary period. But once the Lego Movie and Spider-Verse happened, it was basically over for animated cinema. Now movies have to have extremely weak, borderline circus clown tier protagonists at the beginning, with a quirky but strong independent female supporting character with some major thematic element of submersion. Now, it looks to me that this new Mario movie ticks all the boxes just right, even down to that underlying subversive element just to emphasize that they can put whatever schlock they want in theaters and crowds will eat it right up like starving dogs. The video game curse has never been broken. This is really the last point I want to talk about, as it might be a bit harder to argue. Even more than the last point, that being, there hasn't been a single good video game movie. Now, my definition of that is that the movie has to be good in its entirety. Very little is good about Uwe Boll's video game adaptations. Raul Julia is the only good part of the first Street Fighter movie. Sonic 1 is painfully average. Detective Pikachu is also pretty bad. And Sonic 2 is the closest any video game movie has ever been to being good. But it's only really dragged down because of that part in the middle where it's just humans and Sonic is gone. And this movie, this one right here, this just sucks. Not as bad as the 1993 Mario movie, that's for sure, but it's just less thematically cohesive. The first was 80s dark fantasy in the early 90s, done very, very badly. This new movie is just a shittier version of the Lego Movie with some aspects of Spider-Verse, with a little bit of Emoji Movie thrown in there, with a Mario coat of paint. And there are some true losers out there who think that Arcane and Cyberpunk Edgerunners are actually good. You know, whenever I hear people talk about League of Legends or Cyberpunk 2077, it is literally nothing good. No one with any self-respect plays League, and Cyberpunk was basically a glitch simulator at launch, and, spoiler alert, still is now. So why did people see this crock of shit then? Well, people like Mario. I like Mario, for Christ's sake. But that doesn't excuse the fact that we literally got garbage in the form of lights and colors for 90 minutes and just had to sit back and be told it was actually good. Fuck right off. I'd like to think that if this movie had any thought put into it, the final thing would go something like this. This movie still has Mario, it still has the Mario Brothers. There's still Peach, Toad, Donkey Kong, and Bowser too. In this movie, Mario and Luigi are hard-working plumbers who go through a lot of work to become New York's best local plumbers. While working on a job, they accidentally get transported to the Mushroom Kingdom and meet Peach. They're given a quest to get Bowser's minions to stop harassing the people of the Mushroom Kingdom, and in this version, instead of having a shitty B-plot where nothing happens, Mario and Luigi have to get over their differences and work together to defeat Bowser's minions as a team, not bickering brothers. And yeah, Peach doesn't get kidnapped in this version either, but she still gets to have that sweet moments with Mario like in the games. Donkey Kong retreats into the neighboring DK jungle after having been defeated by Mario in Brooklyn many years ago, and when he teams up with Mario and company now, it doesn't feel forced because he has a chip on his shoulder about proving himself to Mario. And yes, Bowser is thrown into lava and the day is saved. Did you notice something here? Even a bare-bones premise like that is similar to this current movie, but it's still better than it. Why? Because all the stupid Mario Kart shit was removed. The stupid human characters in New York were sidelined, focusing more on Donkey Kong than Pauline or Mario's stupid fucking family. And there's no time-wasting fight scenes in the Jungle Kingdom or a shitty travel montage, and there's no forced agenda either. You can still make a good Mario flick, people. It wouldn't be that hard. And that's it. That's my problem with this big movie, and I hope I never have to make another reference to this shit on my channel ever again. But I should tell you guys something. I didn't watch this movie. Whoa, shocker. Yeah, sorry, I don't believe in cuckoldry. If you couldn't tell why I wasn't being super specific with the spoilers, it's because I just read off the plot synopsis on Wikipedia. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to fork over my precious money to watch this pandering, dissatisfying garbage in theaters, and I probably won't even watch this movie when it comes out on DVD. Or ever, really. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on Mario 2023. It sucked the big one, and absolutely deserves all the shit reviews it got because, I said so, and everything I say is right. But hey, at least they made Princess Peach hot.
Excuse, let's just brighten this up a little bit. Damn, shawty.
Oh well, I'm Cad Blasty, signing off until next time. Bye, guys.
I am genuinely feeling like a strong 0.